Story 1. Man, I got to tell you, on the day Shelley hit me with the "I need a break" line, I was like a deer in headlights. There we were, sipping coffee on a lazy Sunday. The sun was shining, birds chirping, a picture-perfect day. Right then, bam, she drops this bombshell. She's all, I need some time to figure stuff out. Going to stay with my folks for a bit. I'm sitting there, coffee halfway to my mouth, frozen. A break. Ask. That word, break. It's like a sledgehammer to a glass house. I mean, we've had our ups and downs, sure, but this was out of left field. Shelley's fiddling with her cup, avoiding my eyes. I need some space, to sort out my feelings. Her voice is steady, but I can tell she's not 100% on this. There's this tremble, a little quiver that says she's as scared as I am. I'm trying to keep cool, but inside I'm a mess. And what about loyalty, huh? You planning on staying true during this break? I'm grappling for something, anything to make sense of it all. Shell sighs, this long, heavy sigh that seems to pull the air out of the room. I don't know, Barry. Maybe I need to explore other things. That phrase hits me like a punch in the gut. Betrayed, that's what I feel. Here I was, thinking we were solid, and she's out there wanting to explore. I'm trying to process this, but it's like my brain's stuck in a loop. Break, explore, betrayal. Next thing I know, I'm in my office, papers spread out in front of me, legal stuff, separation papers. My hands are shaking as I fill them out. It's like I'm on autopilot. Part of me thinks this is just a phase, we laugh about it someday. But the other part, the louder part, is prepping for the worst. Divorce. Bill population me. Shell's watching me from the doorway, her face all crumpled up like she's about to cry. But she doesn't say anything, just turns and walks away. And I'm there, hand in hand, signing away the life we built together. Crazy how quick things can change. Huh? Looking back, I can't help but wonder if I overreacted. Maybe I should have fought for us, for her, but in that moment all I could see was the end of the road, the end of us. And man, that was a tough pill to swallow. Alright, so let me paint you the picture of what went down after Shelley dropped her "I need a break" bomb. Things spiraled, and fast. I mean, 1 minute we're talking about needing space, and the next it's like we're in the middle of a hurricane. It was a Tuesday, a couple of days after the big announcement. The tension in the house was so thick you could cut it with a knife. I'm pacing around, thinking, stewing. Every time I look at Shelley, I'm reminded of the break, and man, it burns. I've got all these emotions bubbling up. Anger, confusion, a bit of fear. It's like a cocktail of feelings, and not the good kind. So I'm standing in our bedroom, looking at all of Shell's stuff. Her clothes, her books, those little trinkets she loves so much. And something in me just snaps. I start grabbing her things, not even thinking, and before I know it, I've piled up half her wardrobe and all those knickknacks she's collected over the years. I haul everything to the spare room, just dumping it all in there. It's chaotic, a mess, but in that moment, it feels right, like I'm physically moving her out of my life. I'm sweating, out of breath, but there's this weird sense of accomplishment too. Then I see her standing in the doorway, her face a mix of shock and hurt. "You should leave," I blurt out. It's harsh, colder than I intended, but it's out there, hanging in the air between us. Shelley looks like I've just slapped her. She opens her mouth, but no words come out. She just stares at the pile of her belongings, then at me, and I can see it in her eyes. She's realizing this is serious, way more serious than she thought. For a moment, I regret it. I want to take it all back, tell her it's just a stupid fight, but I can't. There's this pride, this hurt that's holding me back. So we just stand there, in this silent standoff, the weight of what I've done pressing down on me. That night, Shelley sleeps in the spare room, among her scattered belongings. There's this unspoken agreement that we're in separate worlds now, even under the same roof. The house feels emptier, colder. I toss and turn, can't sleep. It's like every creak, every whisper of the house is reminding me of what's happening. In the days that follow, we're like ghosts passing each other without a word. The air is filled with unsaid things. Regrets, maybe even a bit of longing. but neither of us breaks the silence. It's like we're stuck in this dance, too stubborn or scared to make the first move. And then, one morning, I wake up to find a note on the kitchen counter. It's from Shelly. Gone to my parents. It says, just those 4 words, but they hit me like a ton of bricks. It's real now. She's really gone. That day, the house feels even more hollow. I wander from room to room, looking at the spaces she used to fill. Her perfume lingers in the air, a reminder of what's missing. I sit on the couch, the same spot where we've laughed, argued, made up, and I realize how much of us is woven into every corner of this place. I think about calling her, but my pride gets in the way. She left, remember? I tell myself, but deep down, I'm wondering if I pushed her too far, if I've broken something that can't be fixed. It's a scary thought, being the architect of your own misery. So there you have it, the escalation, a series of small steps leading to a big fall. It's funny, how quickly things can change. One day you're planning your future, and the next you're wondering if you even have one together. That's life, I guess. Unpredictable, messy, and sometimes a little heartbreaking. Once Shell left and the house got all quiet, it's like my brain switched into overdrive. I had all this time to think, to reflect, and man, did the thoughts come flooding in. There I was in our big empty house, just me and my thoughts, and they were all about Shell. How she changed, how we changed. You see, a while back, Shelly went on this health kick. She lost a bunch of weight, started dressing differently, kind of morphed into this whole new person. At first, I was proud of her for taking control, getting healthy, but I didn't realize how much those changes would affect us, our relationship. I catch myself looking at old photos, back when we were younger, a bit chubbier, but man, we were happy. There was this light in her eyes, a spark. Now, it felt like that spark was fading, getting lost in her new lifestyle, her new self. Our conversations changed too. They became more superficial, more about her fitness routine, her diet. I tried to keep up, be supportive, but I felt left behind, like she was on this express train to a new life, and I was still waiting at the station. Then there were the little things. Her laughter, which used to fill the room, now seemed forced, rare. The way she turned away slightly when I tried to hug her. Small things, but they added up. Knowing that, me sitting in that silent house, I started to wonder where it all went wrong. Were we ever really happy? Or were we just comfortable? Did I miss some signs, some cries for help? You start questioning everything, doubting every memory, every moment. I remember walking through the house, room by room, seeing traces of her everywhere. Her books on the shelf, her perfume in the bathroom, her gardening gloves on the porch. It was like she was still there, but not really. It was this constant reminder of what I'd lost, what we'd lost. Nights were the hardest. The bed felt too big, too empty. I'd lie awake, staring at the ceiling, replaying our last conversations, trying to figure out where things took a turn. It's funny how solitude can mess with your mind, make you see things in a different light. Then there were moments of anger, of bitterness. Why did she leave? Why wasn't I enough? But those moments would fade, replaced by this dull ache, this sense of loss. It's like I was mourning, not just for our relationship, but for the woman I fell in love with, who now seemed like a stranger to me. I started doing things to keep busy, to fill the silence. I'd work late, hit the gym, anything to avoid coming home to an empty house. But no matter how busy I got, there was always that moment when I'd walk through the door, and the reality would hit me all over again. It's weird, how you can be surrounded by people, by noise, by life, and still feel so utterly alone. That's what those days were like. A constant battle between wanting to remember and wanting to forget, between holding on and letting go. In those quiet moments, I realized how much I depended on Shelly, not just for love or companionship, but for my identity. Without her, I was like a ship without a rudder, drifting aimlessly. It was a wake-up call, a harsh reminder that I needed to find myself again, find my own happiness. So that's Chapter 3, Reflections in Solitude, a time of introspection, of confronting some hard truths, and of slowly, painfully starting to piece together a life without Shelly. It's a journey, man, and let me tell you, it's not an easy one. Before we dive into the next chapter of this roller coaster story, I've got a small favor to ask. If you're enjoying this tale of love, adventure, and unexpected twists, how about showing some love? Hit that like button to let me know you're on board. It's a simple click for you, but it means the world to me. It's like a virtual high five, telling me to keep the stories coming. And hey, why stop there? Go ahead and hit subscribe. Trust me, you don't want to miss what's coming up next. So take a quick second to like and subscribe. Done? Awesome. So Shell's over at her folks, right? And she's trying to get used to this whole newly single, free as a bird vibe. But let me tell you, it ain't all sunshine and rainbows for her there. She is in her old room, surrounded by memories of her teenage years. And it's like she's gone back in time, but not in a good way. It's more like she's stuck in this weird limbo, halfway between the past and the present. And those doubts, man, they start creeping in, gnawing at her. She's got all this time to think, too much time really, and her mind, it keeps circling back to Malia and Sasha, our kids. She's missing their school plays, their little squabbles, the way Sasha's nose crinkles when she laughs, or Malia's endless questions about everything under the sun. It hits her hard, the reality of what she's left behind. And it's not just the kids, it's the life we built together. The routines, the inside jokes, the lazy Sundays in bed. She's out there trying to figure herself out, but she's starting to wonder if she left a part of herself back with us. Then there's the whole thing with her parents. They're trying to be supportive, sure, but there's this unspoken tension, like they're wondering why she's thrown a perfectly good marriage into the wind. And Shell, she feels it, feels their confusion, their disappointment. So she's sitting there at the dinner table, pushing food around her plate, and it's like she's a stranger in her own life. She's questioning everything. Her decisions, her desires, her future. It's a mess of what-ifs and should-haves. Nights are the worst for her. She's lying in her childhood bed, staring at the ceiling, and the silence is deafening. She's used to the sound of my snoring, the soft breathing of the kids down the hall. Now, all she's got is the ticking of the old clock on the wall. Each tick, a reminder of the time she's losing, the moments slipping away. She starts doing these long walks, just wandering around her old neighborhood, trying to clear her head, but everywhere she looks, there are reminders of the past, of simpler times. It's like she's haunted by the ghost of her former self, the girl who had all these dreams and aspirations before life got complicated. And in those quiet moments, when she's all alone with her thoughts, the regret really starts to sink in. What have I done? She asks herself. She's made this big, bold move, sure, but at what cost? She's got freedom, yeah, but it's a lonely kind of freedom, the kind that feels more like isolation than liberation. So that's chapter 4, Doubts and Regrets. It's all about Shell grappling with the consequences of her decision, realizing that maybe, just maybe, the grass is always greener on the other side. It's a tough pill to swallow, realizing you might have made a mistake, especially when there's no easy way to fix it. But that's life, right? A series of choices, some good, some not so good, and learning to live with them. Now, this is where things start getting a bit more, let's say, intense. I'm not the kind of guy to just sit on my hands, you know? With Shelley gone, the house feeling more like a ghost town every day, I figured it was time to make some moves. First things first, the assets. I'm no Scrooge, but I worked hard for what we have, and the thought of losing half of everything to a maybe divorce, yeah, that didn't sit well with me. So I got myself a lawyer, a real shark, and we started locking things down. Bank accounts, the house, investments, you name it, we secured it. Might sound harsh, but in times like these, you've got to protect your turf. But that wasn't the hardest part, no sir. The real kicker was the kids, Malia and Sasha. They're my world, and the thought of them getting caught in the crossfire of a messy split? Unthinkable. So I'm pushing for full custody. It's not that I want to cut Shelley out, but I can't have them bouncing back and forth like ping-pong balls. They need stability, a routine, and I'm hell-bent on giving it to them. Now, about that work trip. It's been on the cards for a while. A big project overseas, a real career maker. But with everything going on, it felt like the perfect opportunity for a fresh start. A chance to get away from all the drama. So I pull some strings, get the okay to take Malia and Sasha with me, a working holiday sort of. The kids are psyched. New places, new faces. For me, it's a bit more complicated, sure. It's a chance to bond, make some memories, but it's also me stepping into this new role. Single dad, globetrotter to Mr. Independent. It's exciting but daunting as hell. Prepping for the trip was a whirlwind. Passports, tickets, packing. It's like a military operation, and the whole time I'm trying to keep things light, fun, but inside I'm a jumble of nerves. This trip, it's not just a getaway. It's a statement. I'm showing Shelley, the kids, the world that I can handle this. Then I'm not just going to crumble and fade away. The night before we leave, I'm tucking the kids into bed, and Sasha, she's got this worried look in her eyes. Will mommy be okay without us? She asks. Man, that hit me right in the feels. I tell her, mommy's going to be just fine, that we're all going to be just fine. But as I'm saying it, I'm wondering the same thing myself. So we set off, the three of us, off on this adventure. And as the plane takes off, I'm looking out the window, watching the ground slip away, and it's like I can feel the weight lifting. We're starting over, in a way, a new chapter, a chance to rewrite our story. It's scary, yeah, but it's also kind of exhilarating. Shelley, she's having this big epiphany over at her parents', realizing maybe she's made a major mistake. So she's thinking she can just waltz back in and patch things up. She calls me up, her voice all shaky, saying she wants to talk. I'm like, okay, let's hear it. So she comes over. She's looking different, more like the Shelley I knew, but there's this nervousness about her. She starts with this big apology, saying she's missed me, the kids, the life we had. She's going on about how she's seen the error of her ways, wants to make it right, and I'm just sitting there nodding, but inside I'm feeling all sorts of twisted. Here's the thing. While she was out finding herself, I wasn't just moping around. I'd started seeing Hillary, my best friend since forever. Hillary, she'd been there through the thick and thin, and somewhere along the line, things between us changed. It wasn't planned, it just happened. So when Shell's pouring her heart out, I'm thinking of Hillary and how she's been my rock through all this. I let Shell finish and then I lay it out for her. I tell her about Hillary, how it's her thing now. You should have seen her face. It's like I'd hit her with a sledgehammer. She's stammering, asking if I'm serious, and I'm like, yeah, I am. The air in the room got real heavy then. Shell's looking at me, her eyes welling up, and I'm feeling this mix of guilt and relief. Yeah, relief that I'm finally being honest with her, with myself. Then I hit her with another bombshell. The divorce papers. I'd had them drawn up, ready to go. It wasn't an easy decision, but with everything that had gone down, it felt like the only way forward. Shell's looking at the papers like there's some sort of alien artifact. She's lost for words, and frankly, so am I. It was one of those pivotal moments, you know? She's realizing that it's really over, that there's no going back, and I'm seeing this chapter of my life closing right in front of me. It was sad, sure, but also kind of freeing. We talk a bit more, mostly logistics about the kids and how we're going to handle things moving forward. It's all very civil, but there's this undercurrent of, I don't know, finality, like we both know this is the end of the road for us. Shell leaves, and the house is quiet again, but it's a different kind of quiet now. It's more like peace or maybe acceptance. The storm has passed, and there's this sense of calm, of moving on. So there we were, me, Hillary, Malia, and Sasha, embarking on this new journey abroad. It felt like stepping into a different world, a fresh start. Everything was new. The sights, the sounds, the smells. We landed in this beautiful, bustling city, full of life and energy. It was exactly what we needed, a total change of scenery. The kids, they adapted faster than I thought. Malia, she's got this adventurous spirit, always curious, always exploring. And Sasha, she's more reserved, but was finding her own way, making friends at the new school. Watching them, it filled me with this mix of pride and relief. They were okay, more than okay, they were thriving. Hillary, she was incredible through it all. She had this way of making anywhere feel like home. She'd cook up these meals, a blend of our old life and the new, and we'd sit around the table in our new apartment, laughing and sharing stories. Felt right, like we were building something special, something real. Work was intense, but rewarding. I was putting in long hours, but I was doing something I believed in, something that mattered. And coming home to Hillary and the kids, that was the best part of my day. We'd have these little rituals like game nights or movie evenings, and it was like we were weaving this new tapestry of family life. Then there's the big news. Me and Hillary, we decided to tie the knot. It wasn't a big, fancy affair, just something small and intimate. The kids were ecstatic, seeing us take the step, officially becoming a family. It was a beautiful day, full of love and laughter, a celebration of new beginnings. Life kept moving, and before we knew it, there was another addition to our family. A little one. Holding that baby for the first time, it's a feeling I can't even describe. It was like a piece of the puzzle we didn't even know was missing clicked into place. Malia and Sasha, they were over the moon, doted on their new sibling every chance they got. Our new life, it was full of challenges. Sure, but also full of joy and growth. We were blending our past with our present, creating something unique, something ours. We'd FaceTime with Shelley regularly, keeping her in the loop, making sure the kids stayed connected. It wasn't always easy, but it was important. The city, with its vibrant culture and diverse community, became our playground. We'd explore on weekends, discovering hidden gems, learning and growing together. It was an adventure every single day. And as I'd watch the sunset from our balcony, the city lights twinkling below, I think about the journey that got us here. It was wild, unpredictable, sometimes painful, but it led us to this place, this moment, and I was grateful for all of it. The good, the bad, the in-between. So there's Shelley, back in her hometown, living a life she thought she wanted. But it's not all it's cracked up to be. She's got a lot of time on her hands, and you know what they say about idle minds? Hers is a whirlwind of thoughts, regrets, and what-ifs. She's watching from afar, seeing snippets of our new life on social media. The updates, the photos, and each one is like a little jab, a reminder of what she's missing out on. She sees pictures of Malia's birthday party, Sasha's soccer games, and it hits her hard. She's missing milestones, everyday moments, and it's eating her up inside. She tries to keep busy, throws herself into work, hobbies, anything to fill the void, but the silence of her apartment is deafening. It's in these quiet moments that the weight of her choices really sinks in. Her friends, they try to be supportive, tell her she did the right thing, following her heart and all that, but deep down, she's not so sure. She starts to realize that in chasing after something different, something she thought she wanted, she lost everything that truly mattered. Her family, her home, the love and life she built with us. She's got this box of memories. Photos, little keepsakes from our life together. Sometimes she'll pull it out, sift through it. It's a bittersweet ritual, a walk down memory lane, but each step is laced with regret. And then there are the nights, the hardest part. She's lying in bed, the room dark, and her mind won't shut off. She replays everything. The good times, the bad, the mundane. She thinks about the holidays we spent together, the quiet mornings, the lazy Sundays. It's like a movie playing on loop, and she's both the star and the audience. She wonders about the kids, how they're doing, really doing. Sure, she talks to them, video calls, but it's not the same. She's missing the little things. The way Malia scrunches her nose when she's thinking hard, Sasha's infectious giggle. It's those everyday moments that she craves. The ones you don't realize are important until they're gone. She starts to understand that happiness isn't always about chasing the new or the exciting. Sometimes it's about appreciating what you have, cherishing the mundane, finding joy in the familiar. It's a hard lesson learned too late. She's left with her thoughts, her regrets, and the painful understanding that some choices can't be undone. There's no reset button in life, no going back to fix the mistakes. Now on to the next story. Story 2. Before we start, if you're enjoying this video so far, please consider liking and subscribing to the channel. Now let's continue. My delusional teenage daughter didn't learn her lesson from the first time she got pregnant, so we kicked her out. My teenage daughter, Josie, had her first baby when she was 15. My husband and I were devastated because we knew this was going to be a very difficult path for our daughter. We did all we could to give her intimacy education, But it wasn't enough and we couldn't turn back time, so all we could do was support her in what she wanted to do. My husband and I helped Josie take care of our grandson and encouraged her to finish high school. She never did because she said her priority was being a mother, and she didn't have time to invest in finishing high school. We told her she would either go to school or get a job, but we weren't going to give her the option of doing neither for more than a year after she gave birth. So she got a part-time job at a hair salon. The father of my grandson would give her about $100 a month for baby-related stuff and would come over every couple of months to see his son. He lived in the same city as his son, but that was all he did. A few days ago, Josie broke the news to us that she was pregnant again. She said that the father was the same boy who got her pregnant the first time. My husband was pissed, and he was inches away from throwing Josie out of the house. I managed to calm my husband down, and we had a long conversation about Josie's future. How could she get pregnant by the same guy for the second time when he was very obviously not helpful with their first baby? And with Josie living with us rent-free and us having to take care of my grandson for her so she could work, this didn't seem fair at all that she could add another baby into this mess. After a few days of thinking about it and discussing it with my husband, we decided to tell Josie to move in with the father of her children and raise the children together. She said they weren't in a relationship, so they couldn't live together. I told her she needed to figure something out because my husband and I weren't willing to raise another baby for her. She said, "You're never satisfied with anything I do. You told me to get a job, so I did, and now you're complaining that you had to raise the baby. You wouldn't have had to if I didn't have to work. I can't do both things at once, and I definitely can't raise 2 kids on my own and work. What 19-year-old can do that?" I replied, "We tried to teach you how to be responsible after your first baby, and we did all we could to be there for you. You clearly haven't learned a thing, and it's not our job to keep picking up after you. So before your baby arrives, discuss living arrangements with the father and figure something out." She slammed the door after she left, and ever since, she has been crying. She's called both sets of her grandparents to speak to my husband and me so we could change our minds. My husband's parents think we're being very harsh and punishing her for something that's already happened, which isn't helpful. They offered to take Josie and our grandson, but Josie doesn't want to take her kids so far away from their dad. My in-laws said that we'll regret abandoning our daughter and that we should be showing her a better example of unconditional love. They were being too supportive of Josie, so I got the suspicion that Josie may have changed the story for them. I asked them what Josie told them word for word, and what they told me blew my mind. Turns out Josie had told them that she had gotten pregnant accidentally because the father of her first child took advantage of her while she was drunk. No wonder they were sympathizing with her. They also told me that Josie was taking money from them for the baby, but I never saw her spend a single dollar for food or diapers. It became clear that she was lying to everyone and playing the victim card. When she came home that evening, we told her that she better pack her things and leave because we had no intentions of taking care of her. She tried offering an abortion, but I told her that she wasn't going to unalive her baby and didn't have our consent. She is still in our house, but we gave her 3 days to figure everything out and leave. Now on to the next story. Story 3. Emil lost it at my baby shower, and she insulted me, tried to name my baby, but ended up getting arrested after making a scene. I am 29F, married to my wonderful husband Gary, and currently pregnant with our first child. It's been a super exciting journey so far. Gary and I have been together for a long time and got married 4 years ago. We have been trying to get pregnant since last year, and we were overjoyed when we discovered my pregnancy 6 months ago. We have navigated the ups and downs of life side by side. The news of a little one on the way has added a whole bunch of happiness to our relationship. Every day brings us a big step closer to meeting our little nugget, and we can't wait. My pregnancy has been a roller coaster of feelings, from the thrill of finding out to those sweet moments when you can feel your baby start kicking your stomach. Gary has been my rock throughout all of this. He's been to every doctor's appointment, we read parenting books together, and he's even helping set up a cute nursery for our soon-to-arrive baby. We're in full baby mode now, talking about names, decorating the nursery, and making plans for the future. Gary is super excited to be a dad, and it warms my heart. He's all in, sharing the load of getting ready for the baby. We're facing the challenges and fun parts of pregnancy together, enjoying every moment as we get ready to meet our little one. 2 months back, we decided it was time to share the exciting news about my pregnancy with our family. We made sure we crossed the crucial first trimester milestone and were completely certain before spreading the joy to our loved ones. We had invited all our parents, close family, and friends for lunch. They arrived expecting a regular lunch, but upon noticing my growing stomach, their expressions shifted to expressions of joy and amazement. My mother started crying when she saw me and confirmed that I was indeed pregnant. She understood why we had kept the news secret and was overjoyed to be a grandmother soon. She completely understood why we had kept it a secret and expressed her excitement about becoming a grandmother soon. However, Gary's mother, Barbara, had a completely different reaction. Instead of sharing in the joy, she reacted angrily upon learning that we had kept the pregnancy hidden. She felt left out and accused me specifically of intentionally excluding her. Despite my attempts to explain the reason behind our decision, she continued to look pissed and refused to engage with me further. Her disapproval cast a shadow over what should have been a joyful family occasion. Throughout the night, Barbara didn't address me at all. She displayed disrespect not only towards me but also towards my mother, who had always been nothing but kind to her during their previous encounters. Barbara remained unresponsive during discussions, buried in her phone while everyone else engaged in the family gathering. It was clear that she was upset, and her discontentment was palpable. She openly expressed to everyone how she had no idea about my pregnancy, making her feel as if she had lost precious time with a grandchild who hadn't even been born yet. My husband and one of his brothers picked up on her frustration as the tension escalated. I reached a breaking point and decided to step out for a moment to gather myself. My mother, who noticed my distress, came to comfort me until I felt composed enough to return. As the night came to an end, Barbara made a deliberate point of saying goodbye to me last. After observing the disapproving stares from my husband, sister, and parents the entire day, she barely exchanged more than a hi and bye with me. Later, my husband walked them to the car, where they ended up having a heated argument, which I could hear clearly standing in the foyer. Barbara took the opportunity to vent her complaints about me further, escalating the strange situation. Thankfully, all our guests had left by this moment, so it was just me, my parents, Gary, and his parents. She angrily told him that she couldn't believe that I had the audacity to keep this pregnancy from her, and that I did not consider family at all. My husband calmly let her know that he and I had both decided to wait until we were out of the danger zone, and that everything was fine before sharing the news with everyone. Hearing this, Barbara started yelling. This is how their conversation went. Barbara, this is our grandchild we're talking about. I deserve to know from the very beginning. Gary, Mom, it's not about deserving or not. It was a decision we made together. She just wanted to be cautious. Barbara, cautious? I am her mother-in-law. She should have trusted me with this. This is all her fault. This is when my husband lost his temper. Up until this point, he had held himself back, but when he heard his mother continue to accuse me, I watched his face get red in anger. He firmly told his mother that he didn't want to tell her as well, so if she was blaming me, she should blame him as well. He continued to tell her that she needed to get over this and stop overreacting. Barbara told him that he should open his eyes as he was letting me control everything, and as his mother, she should have been the first to know if her son was having a grandchild. My husband stood his ground and asked her to stop attacking me and that he loved her, but she needed to leave and cool off before saying something she would later regret. As Barbara stormed away, leaving my husband standing there visibly frustrated and disappointed with his mother's reaction, I was unaware of the tears streaming down my face. The sharpness of her words had left me hurt and bewildered. Gary, quick to notice my distress, rushed to comfort me and gently guided me back into the house. My parents, sensing the tension, graciously stayed back until I felt emotionally composed and reassured. Barbara didn't just stop there. Later that night, I received a message from her, and my anxiety heightened, anticipating the content. Her message read, I must say I am deeply disappointed in you. You knowingly kept a significant piece of information from me, and I find it absolutely unforgivable. I can't believe you would rob me of the joy of knowing about my grandchild from the very beginning. This is not how a family should operate, and I find it disrespectful and hurtful. Instead of apologizing to me for your immature action, you are now causing a divide between me and my son. Shame on you." Her words cut through me, and I couldn't help but feel a mix of anger and hurt. I showed the message to Gary, and he was beyond pissed. He couldn't fathom why his mother would react so negatively and place the blame squarely on me. Gary decided to call her, warning her not to send such negative messages as it might distress me further. He even went as far as to threaten to cut her off if this behavior continued. Gary's words and his angry tones seemed to have an impact on Barbara. Faced with the possibility of being cut off, she changed her tune. Instead of acknowledging her own role in the conflict, she proposed a solution. She claimed the only way she could forgive us for what she perceived as a slight was if we allowed her to throw us a baby shower. This sudden turn of events left us both surprised and skeptical about her motives. She continued to plead how nothing would bring her more joy than to throw a grand celebration for me and her grandchild, where she would be taking care of everything. Gary looked at me, curious, but I remained skeptical with the sudden change in her voice. To me, Barbara's sudden change of heart seemed more like a tactical move to regain control and assert her dominance rather than a genuine attempt at reconciliation. Despite my reservations, Gary, always wanting to find a middle ground and keep the peace, entertained the idea of accepting her offer. I expressed my concerns to Gary, stressing that accepting her offer might only fuel her belief that her behavior was acceptable. Gary understood my perspective but told me that he hoped that by allowing his mother to throw a baby shower for me could be a way for us to mend fences and create a more harmonious family environment before the baby arrived. I begrudgingly agreed, and Gary informed his mother to go ahead with the planning for my baby shower. She was overjoyed and expressed her gratitude for allowing her to take charge. Despite entrusting her with a responsibility, I had assumed there would be some level of collaboration where she would seek my input and consider my preferences for my own baby shower. With the event still a month away, I anticipated more detailed planning to unfold in the coming week. However, to my dismay, I discovered that my mother-in-law had gone rogue. She took it upon herself to purchase all the decorations, choose the games, and plan activities without consulting anyone, including me. When my mother reached out to her to discuss the baby shower, my mother-in-law simply informed her that everything had been decided and that it would be a surprise for me. The lack of communication and consideration left me feeling disheartened and frustrated, as the event meant to celebrate a joyous occasion was now being shaped without any regard for my preferences or wishes. On the day of my baby shower, the air was filled with a mix of excitement and tension. I arrived at the venue, a local banquet hall, surrounded by my close friends who were eager to celebrate the upcoming arrival of our little one. As I walked in, I couldn't help but notice the outrageous decorations that my mother-in-law had chosen. A sea of brown and beige balloons adorned every corner, depicting a theme that was entirely her creation. I absolutely hated the decoration, as this looked like a misguided attempt at a safari theme gone wrong. The overwhelming presence of brown and beige clashed with the vibrant atmosphere I had envisioned for the celebration. I had imagined soft pastels and delicate touches for my baby shower, but clearly my mother-in-law had gone the opposite way. The tension in the air escalated when my eyes fell upon an eye-catching display near the entrance. An enormous banner featuring an elaborate collage of my husband's baby pictures with Barbara. Everyone looked at it confused, as we couldn't understand why she would choose to display my husband's baby pictures during my baby shower. I looked at her questioningly, and she laughed it off, saying that she expected our baby to look exactly like my husband, and she was very proud of how cute my husband was as a child. Hence she wanted to display it for everyone. I stared at her, trying to comprehend if she had actually lost her mind. It was clear that she was determined to make the day more about her own experiences as a mother than about the imminent addition to our family. As more guests began to arrive, their expressions ranged from confusion to polite discomfort. Looking around the room, the sea of brown and beige balloons coupled with the towering banner showcasing my mother-in-law and my husband created an ambience that was far from the elegant and joyous atmosphere I had envisioned for my baby shower. I exchanged apologetic glances with some of my friends who clearly shared my sentiment. When my mother walked in, her eyes widened in shock, observing the absolute horror that my mother-in-law had unleashed upon the venue. Her eyes then locked onto the banner, and I could sense her disbelief at the audacity of showcasing a collage that, instead of celebrating my baby's arrival, seemed more like an exhibition of my husband's childhood. In a bold move, my mother walked over to the banner, her expression shifting from disbelief to determination. Without uttering a word, she firmly grabbed hold of the banner, decisively removing it from its prominent display. The room fell silent, and all eyes turned toward my mother as she carried away the intrusive display that overshadowed the celebration. I couldn't help but feel a surge of gratitude toward my mother for her unwavering support. My Amiel, who was busy talking to other guests, looked in horror, watching my mother throw the banner into the dustbin. In a disapproving tone, she asked, "What do you think you're doing?" That banner was a special touch to celebrate the baby and the family. My mother, undeterred by the disapproval, responded with a firm yet composed voice. "This celebration is about my daughter and her baby, not a showcase of your personal achievement." The guests around them were drawn to this unexpected confrontation. My Amiel, sensing the attention shift, tried to regain control of the situation. "Well, I thought it would be nice for everyone to know who's responsible for this beautiful event. As I was responsible for throwing this lovely event, I wanted everyone to see how cute Gary was as a child," she retorted, attempting to mask her annoyance. Undeterred, my mother continued, "Barbara, you begged my daughter to allow you to throw this baby shower for her after how you behaved with her last time. This is my daughter's baby shower and not a platform for your personal agenda or attempt to steal the spotlight." The room hushed as the exchange unfolded, with guests glancing at each other in discomfort. My Amiel, realizing that her attempt to dictate the narrative had backfired, retreated with a forced smile and returned to her conversations with other guests. The baby shower continued after that, with me trying my best to focus on the positive energy from my friends and family, despite the tension that was lingering throughout the event. I thought there would be no other surprises from my Amiel, who seemed to be drinking a little too much for a baby shower, but there was nothing that I could tell her anyway. We played various party games, and the guests seemed to be slowly starting to enjoy themselves. Then it was time for the gift opening session, and I was pleasantly surprised by everyone's thoughtful gift for my baby. However, my anticipation turned into bewilderment as my mother-in-law handed me a conspicuously large gift box with an exaggerated grin on her face. The room fell silent, and I felt a mixture of embarrassment and frustration. My mother looked at her angrily. The guests exchanged awkward glances, unsure of how to react to this unexpected turn of events. In an attempt to diffuse the tension and not create any more tension, I mustered a weak smile and thanked her for the thoughtful gift, all the while suppressing the urge to roll my eyes. The situation escalated further when it was time for the cake-cutting ceremony. My mother-in-law had ordered an extravagant tiered cake with over-the-top decorations. She made a big show of it, clinking her glass to make everyone look at her. I was starting to get pretty annoyed, wondering what she was up to now. We all looked at her curiously and waited for her to speak. Barbara then announced that she had come up with the perfect name for our baby girl. I froze hearing her words. Keep in mind that we hadn't even settled on a name ourselves. She proudly declared that the baby would be named after her great-grandmother, with a name that seemed straight out of a Victorian novel. I was shocked and a little irritated that she assumed she had the naming rights. I stepped in politely, explaining that my husband and I wanted to pick our baby's name together. It was a choice we wanted to make. His parents, however, my mother-in-law wasn't having any of it. She insisted that she had the perfect name, and if I was a good daughter-in-law, I should accept it since she had spent so much money on the baby shower. I was shocked at her sense of entitlement. I firmly stated that only my husband and I had the right to name our baby, and regardless of who hosted the baby shower, this decision was ours alone. That's when Emil started yelling at me in front of everyone, claiming I was extremely disrespectful and should be grateful for all she'd done. She went on to criticize my upbringing, insisting that I should be thanking her instead of denying her the right to name the baby. Barbara grew increasingly aggressive, pointing her fingers at my face. My mother stepped in, standing in front of me as a shield. Barbara continued to shout, asserting herself as the actual mommy of my baby since she gave birth to my husband, and it was his sperm that impregnated me. Her words were truly disgusting to hear. Despite my mom's attempt to stop Barbara's nasty comments, she just got angrier. She kept on insulting me and said my mom did a terrible job raising me. It was clear she had too much to drink, and trying to talk sense into her was pointless. The whole situation was getting worse, making everyone uncomfortable. Slowly realizing the escalating situation, I decided I had endured enough humiliation. Trying to salvage some dignity, I decided to walk out with the gifts my friends had generously brought, leaving behind the present that my MAL had got me. However, Barbara, in her intoxicated state, snatched the gifts back from my hand and tossed them to the ground, accusing me of being ungrateful and a witch who was coming between her and her son. The tense atmosphere drew more attention, and I noticed some people starting to film the incident. In an effort to contain the chaos, I asked one of my close friends to politely request people to leave the event. Barbara, undeterred, continued hurling nasty accusations at me, creating a scene that no one could have anticipated when they arrived for what was supposed to be a joyous occasion. Frustration turned to anger, and as a last resort, I decided to call the cops to remove her from my vicinity, as I was starting to feel extremely unsafe with her aggressive behavior. Yep, you read that right. I had to involve the police at my own baby shower because of my toxic MIL. When the officer showed up, Barbara went into full drama mode, pointing fingers at me and painting me as the mastermind behind the chaotic event. The cops, thankfully, were understanding and attempted to reason with her. However, being drunk, MIL resisted their efforts and even started yelling at the police, which didn't work in her favor. The situation escalated to the point where she was arrested on the spot. I left the event with my mother and close friends, all of us shaken up by the unsettling incident. Since this incident, my husband and I have been dealing with the fallout. MIL is on a full-blown guilt trip, playing the victim card and garnering sympathy from some family members who were not present at the baby shower. They don't live in the same city. My husband, although he understands why I called the cops, thinks I took it a bit too far. He believes that I could have called him or his father for help. So, Reddit, I'd like your opinion on calling the cops on my MIL for ruining my baby shower and pretending to be the actual mommy of the baby. Update 1. I am overwhelmed with the response I have received since deciding to post about my baby shower. I would like to thank everyone for supporting my decision to call the cops. I had never witnessed such an aggressive reaction from my MIL before. Given that I usually only saw her during holidays when I never spent a lot of time with her, the level of aggression she displayed at the baby shower left me genuinely concerned about the possibility of physical harm, especially considering the potential impact on my unborn child. Since the incident, every guest who attended the baby shower has reached out to express their support. Some of them have even shared recordings of the entire debacle, which I intend to show to my husband. My plan is to have a serious conversation with my husband in the coming weekend about the future with his mother. Update 2. I showed the recording to my husband as mentioned earlier. My husband and I found ourselves sitting down for a serious conversation about the events that had transpired. I explained to him in detail how his mother's behavior had escalated throughout the entire ordeal, from the hidden pregnancy revelation to the outrageous baby shower. I described in detail the yelling, accusations, and bizarre gifts she presented. I then shared the recordings with him, which my husband watched visibly horrified. Watching the videos seemed to bring a reality check for him, making him confront the uncomfortable truth about his mother's actions. He started to apologize to me sincerely for underestimating the severity of the situation and acknowledged that I was right in calling the cops. I had no idea it got this bad. I'm so sorry you had to go through all that, he expressed, his face reflecting both regret and frustration. He admitted that he had never imagined his mother could be this toxic, as this seemed so out of character for her. He reassured me that he was on my side and emphasized that my safety and well-being, especially during pregnancy, were his top priorities. We then delved into the underlying issues, discussing how his mother's need for control and validation had overshadowed what should have been a joyous occasion. Gary, grappling with the reality of his mother's actions, shared his own concerns about her behavior and acknowledged that her behavior had crossed a line. I told him that after how his mother had behaved with me in front of everyone, I wanted to cut all ties with her. I continued to tell him that he could have a relationship with her if he wanted, but me and our child would not be a part of her life, at least until his mother went for counseling to deal with her aggressive behavior. Hearing this, Gary expressed that what his mother had done was beyond disgusting, and he was willing to cut ties with her as well. I assured him that he did not have to do any such thing, but my husband insisted that his mother dared to disrespect me. Hence, she did not have the right to be in our lives anymore. He understood that this behavior by his mother was not just about the baby shower but might have been a culmination of long-standing issues. Moving ahead, Gary has reassured me that he will personally communicate our decision to his mother, making it clear that cutting her off from our lives is entirely his choice. I have also asked him to warn her that if she decides to show up unexpectedly at our doorstep to force me to accept her back in our lives, then I will be forced to call the cops on her again. Update 3. It's been a month since my last update. To everyone asking, me and the baby are doing okay. I can't wait to meet my child very soon as the date approaches. Since my last update, we have ceased all communication with Barbara. Gary had a conversation with his parents, and his father assured him that he would take the necessary steps to ensure that my MIL understands the boundaries we've set and respects our decision. In the aftermath of cutting ties with Barbara, our lives have experienced a noticeable shift. The absence of constant drama and toxicity has brought about a newfound sense of peace and tranquility in our household. Gary and I are now able to focus on preparing for the arrival of our baby without the looming cloud of Barbara's disruptions. The support we received from friends and family has been invaluable during this challenging time. My parents and my close friends have been pillars of strength, offering their encouragement and understanding. Even some family members who were initially unaware of the extent of Barbara's behavior have come forward to express their support after witnessing the shocking events at the baby shower through the videos that have now gone viral. Our journey is far from over, but this experience has strengthened our bond and highlighted the importance of facing challenges together as a united front. The decision to sever ties with Barbara was not made lightly, but it has proven to be a necessary step for our well-being. While there may be lingering challenges, we are optimistic about the positive changes this choice has brought into our lives. As we eagerly await the arrival of our little one, we are determined to build a loving and supportive family environment that prioritizes the well-being of both parents and child. Now on to the next story. Story 4. My girlfriend told me no when I asked her if she wanted me to be her partner for prom. What am I supposed to do in this situation? On March 6th, I asked my girlfriend if she wanted to be my prom date, but she said no and suggested I find someone else. She mentioned that I lacked initiative because I only asked her after she sent a link with a photo that said, "Will you be my prom date?" Fast forward to today, I inquired if she had found a partner for prom, and she said no because no one had asked her. So I asked her again, prompting her with, "Did you just invite me because no one else did?" I reminded her that I had asked her on March 6th, but she rejected me. Here's how the rest of our conversation unfolded. Her, "Oh yeah, me. I hope you and your chosen partner have fun at prom. Babe." Her, "So you won't come near me during prom?" Me, "You and your partner should stick together since I'm not your partner, I should respect your space now." She's blaming me, claiming that I'm giving her away to another man. She then said, "You don't want to fight for me and try your luck again and again and again," followed by, "You're quick to give up." She declared that the conversation was over. I responded, likening it to spinning a wheel with a 0% chance of winning, and stated that I won't fight for someone who doesn't want me or want to be fought for. And now she's silent. What am I supposed to do? Update. She said yes last night after being silent, claiming she was just playing hard to get. Then she mentioned that I made it seem like I was giving her away to other men, which is why she said yes. This was likely said sarcastically. I realized I hadn't put in enough effort, so I decided to get her favorite chocolates and ask her out in person properly for the third and final time. I understand I'm young and naive. This morning, I went to the nearest store and bought chocolates, then headed to school. I found the right moment to ask her out in person. I apologized for my immature behavior from the previous night and expressed my desire to attend prom with her. She said yes. No, I didn't break up with her. I want to understand why she acted the way she did, and I acknowledge my own role in provoking her reaction, albeit immaturely. Now on to the next story. Story 5. My older sister that went no contact gave me a harsh reality check. My older sister, F31, we will call her Jessie, went no contact with me and the rest of the family close to 10 years ago. I was 13 when this happened. All I remembered was I came home from school with my other siblings, and both of my parents told me that Jessie was no longer a part of our family and that she chose Satan over family. I remember being crushed. I think I cried when they first told me because I felt like she just abandoned me. After that conversation, my parents banned us from speaking about Jessie and removed all photos of her around the house. The months that went on without Jessie, the more I grew to hate her and got angry that she chose Satan over our family. Meanwhile, for me, I stayed very much loyal to my parents. I studied the Bible day and night and was active in my church just so I could prove to my parents I was not like Jessie. At 16, my parents signed off and I got married to my now husband. Then, 6 months after our wedding, I got pregnant with my first child, and I had a tough birth. It was an at-home birth, and to put it in simpler terms, I almost died. I lost a lot of blood and on top of that went into heart failure. I didn't know, but Jessie tried showing up to the hospital, but my parents had security escort her out. Jessie tried to reach out to me numerous times throughout the years, but I always blocked her because I was under the impression she was an apostate. Fast forward to now, I'm 23 and I have 4 daughters. Also, recently found out I was pregnant, and I went to a doctor appointment, and guess who was at the front desk? My older sister, Jessie. I was kind of stuck for a moment because a part of me wanted to just hug her and tell her how much I missed her, but I just couldn't. I gave her everything I was told about her. She tried to make small talk with me, but I gave her the cold shoulder. A bit towards the end of my visit, she gave me a card with her number and told me to please meet up with her to explain her side. After 3 days of going back and forth with myself, I decided to meet up with her for closure. Initially, she told me she never wanted to leave me, but the church left her no choice. Her ex-husband, that she was married to while she was in the church, was abusive towards her and was beating the crap out of her, and she begged our minister to be released from marriage, and he didn't allow it. Since she was scared for her and my nephew's life, she left. As awful as it sounds, I did not believe her because her ex-husband got remarried to one of my friends, and she has no visible signs of abuse or let alone told she was getting hurt by him. She then went into how our parents are a part of a cult and how it destroyed our family. I remember I did get angry with her and started calling her apostate and that she was lying to protect herself from sin. She then just lets me have it and says, "I've been trying to be nice to you because even if you don't feel like it, you're a victim. You were a child bride that also dropped out of school to become a wife and mother. The only reason why the church is nice to you is because of your daughters, and they don't want to piss you off and lose the girls. If you want to continue to be brainwashed and spineless, be my guest. But if you can't leave for yourself, leave for your daughters." Then, she just gets up and leaves. Ever since that conversation, I've been replaying everything I was ever taught in my life and questioning it. I've been Googling, reading Reddit stories, but thinking about the religion I invested so much time into being a complete lie is honestly too hurtful to think about. Especially my husband. Is our relationship a lie? Did he groom me? Or was he also a victim of the circumstances of our religion? I have the answer to none of these questions, and I quite honestly don't know if I want to know. Edit. Thank you everyone for the feedback. I've been reading all the comments, and to answer a couple repetitive questions, I don't feel comfortable revealing what church I'm a part of given I have no idea if anyone actually creeps on Reddit, and I don't want to risk it. Secondly, my husband, he's not abusive towards me and never once hit me or his daughters. But also he works 60 hours a week, so our time together is limited these days. As far as my sister, she has sent me a follow-up text after our conversation apologizing to me for being blunt with me, and I haven't responded because I still have so much to think about and have virtually nowhere to start. It feels, but also I want to apologize if I came across as a victim blamer in my post. That's never my intention. Sister's POV. I'm the older sister that went no contact and gave my sister a harsh reality check. I saw that my sister posted here, and the post gathered a lot of traction. so I thought it would be necessary to share my side on Jessie and her story. And I commented on her post. I don't remember her exact username, but I'm here to offer a bit of better context. My little sister is in a religious cult that she's willingly participating in, and in my opinion, putting my nieces in potential harm's way. I know she sees me as some devil that was sent by Satan to tempt her, but I'm most definitely not that. I'm not going to say what church to protect my sister, however. She should face some accountability given she's an adult now. But to start from the beginning, we come from a big family of 8 siblings total, of 6 boys and the other 2, which are me and my sister. I pretty much raised my siblings, being the 3rd oldest, especially my younger sister, and it kind of hurt that she brushed past that in her post. But moving on, I looked after her and my siblings until I was married off, which was when I was 18, and it would probably be 16 if I wasn't firm about finishing high school. But I didn't want to get married, and the only reason why I married my ex-husband was because he was the only suitor at the time in the religion that was okay about me continuing my studies and go to college. I regret that now, given he was lying. He got me pregnant right away and was an abuser. I'm not going to go into detail, but he would have most likely killed me or my son if it wasn't for me leaving when I did. My son was also the main factor in why I left, so it's baffling to me that my sister has 4 daughters and does not ever have the urge to leave. Instead, she continued to listen to these same men who told me I needed to stay with my abuser because it was a testament from God that I needed to get through it with my husband. Then, my birth givers, honestly, they should be in jail if you ask me, especially my father. He's a bad person. I saw him fist fight with my brothers regularly back when he was like 200 pounds, and my brothers were like 80 pounds. He has never hit me personally, but I have seen him quite literally knock the wind out of my mother, and we were conditioned to think that was normal, and it wasn't. I know my sister is not going to like me bringing in our parents because the way her life is now is thanks to them, but I mean it has its benefits because she's probably the golden child for them because she's not the difficult child and is the one who does what she's told. Now, her husband, he's 35 years old, so yes, he was 28 marrying a 16-year-old. Before you ask how is that legal, in my awful state, you can get married at 16 with parental permission. And on top of that, the age of consent is 16 years old, so everything was legal. I remember when I first heard she was getting married to her husband, I tried everything in my power to stop the marriage from going through. I got the police involved, and they were absolutely useless because of the First Amendment, and on top of that, they privately interviewed my little sister, and she basically said she's not being forced to do anything against her will, so there's nothing the cops could do. I still get mad at this situation to this day. Luckily, her husband is not abusive. She got extremely lucky there, but he's still horrible in my opinion. It's absolutely ridiculous how she has either been pregnant or had a baby on her hip the entirety of their marriage so far. She couldn't finish high school because of the lack of help with the baby, plus he nearly killed my sister when he pushed for an at-home birth knowing she had preeclampsia, and he also threatened me with a restraining order when I tried to go see her in the hospital. Now, back to our conversation 2 weeks ago, you really hurt me when you didn't believe me about my abuse. I was honestly devastated that you would believe a man who signed his rights away as a father to protect his image, me, your sister. But I also know you're extremely naive and have been severely brainwashed, so I'm not mad at you. But I was indeed hurt by you given everything you ever told me. I believed you without any hesitation. Also, when you didn't want to bring your daughters to meet my kids, that hurt me also, especially seemingly you didn't want to acknowledge my kids when we met up. I'm saying this because I want you to know that your actions do have cause and effect on other people because I don't think you understand that fully. I hate that I have resorted to a Reddit post to get your freaking attention, but maybe once you see the countless people in here saying the same thing, maybe you would realize I'm on your side, and I've always been on your side. The people in that organization only care about you and your family because you have daughters, and you're still willing to pop more kids out for them and blindly follow them. Again, I will repeat myself, I will help you if you let me, but as of right now, you're not letting me. Update. I'm so glad this gained traction, and you guys got my sister to respond to me, so thank you. However, it wasn't what I wanted to hear. We talked on the phone for about 3 hours today, and it was a lot of back and forth. To put it quite simply, my sister does not want to leave her husband, but she does want to leave the religion. So she wants time to potentially convince him to leave with her. In my humble opinion, I don't see him leaving the church, but she thinks otherwise. I then asked her if she would still leave if he didn't want to, and she didn't give me a firm yes or no. The only thing she said wants to wait until she has her baby since she is pregnant. I'm kind of disappointed. I am not going to lie. It sounds like she was making excuses to shut me up. I'm sorry. It's not the update y'all wanted to hear. I would hate for her to leave me no choice and to go nuclear on her and get my friend who's a social worker to get CPS involved. But I'm not going to do that yet. I'm going to calm down for now. But it's just frustrating trying to talk sense into anyone that's so brainwashed and sees me as like one of Satan's disciples. We have reached the end. If you enjoyed this video, please be sure to like and subscribe to the channel for more videos like this, and give us your thoughts about the stories in the comments section. Thank you and see you in the next video.